Okay, we are going to simplify your life. Woohoo! We love simplifying, right? Even if the hymns are very easy for you to play as written, it is great to simplify them because as you simplify them, you'll be able to, again, tap in more to the message that they're sending and be able to build to a climax if that's what you're going for by going simple and then bigger. Also, keep in mind the hymns are not written to be meant to be played on a keyboard instrument. There are a couple that have some things with that in mind, and we'll actually look at one of those in just a minute. But for the most part, they are written as 4-part choir pieces, just 4-part hymn SATB. And you are playing each of those parts when you play them for congregational singing. Well, if you're not playing them for congregational singing, why do you need to play them exactly the way that they were in when they were written for congregational singing? So let me give you an example. Here we have Sweet Hour of Prayer. And in Sweet Hour of Prayer, if you look at the bass and tenor lines, you can see that rhythmically they line up exactly with the melody. Sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer. And of course, if you were a bass, you would be singing sweet hour of prayer, sweet hour of prayer. And you would want all of that rhythmic stuff happening because you would have words to each of those. But as a keyboard player, you don't really need to play on every single time that there is a word in the soprano line. So you could easily just turn that bass and tenor line into a held sustained note whenever you are not actually changing the notes in that, if that makes sense. In fact, you've probably done this on accident. I would actually put the bass there again. You might add it some places and some places not. And then later, if you want to add it in rhythmically with it, or in this case, when it gets to this transition part where suddenly the left hand is much more active, it will sound like it's moving forward a lot more. And then here you could decide, I'm going to keep it going with the melody line, or I'm going to go back to simplify. I'm going to keep it going. I'm going to go ahead and play with my right hand rhythmically every time it does. And now maybe I'll simplify it again. That was hymn number 142, Sweet Hour of Prayer. I'm going to head over to hymn 89, which we actually played in church today. Because you can also simplify melodically, not just rhythmically. Like you can get rid of rhythms or melody notes, whatever works. So we're going to have to look at this. There's a lot of notes in the melody here. They just go all over the place. They're adding all kinds of things. What is our key here? Yeah. The Lord is my light, the Lord, then why should I fear? Listen to all of those eighth notes. I mean, they're singing a lot of eighth notes there. By day and by night. And in fact, they're singing multiple eighth notes on one word. Day and by night, His presence is near. Instead of actually doing all of those when you're playing an arrangement, an improvised arrangement, you could cut out some of those. So, for example, I would cut out, and this is what I did today for part of it, one of the verses, I cut out this D and I went straight to the C on the word Y. And the reason I did that is because the C fits in the chord, but even without knowing music theory, you can look and see there's a C in the bottom. Or when you play it, if you try to hold the D, you'll probably go, oh, that sounds a little funky. Maybe you like it that way. I don't know. That would be a suspended second, which is cool in some contexts. Same thing for day. You could stay on the B if you wanted. I mean, you could do whatever you want, really. And because you are not actually singing the words, if you wanted to get rid of some eighth notes that have their own words for them, like and by, you could leave out that second F. That would be okay. You could just hold that. Let's hear how that sounds if I play it like that. Not too bad. I might add in a couple of those eighth notes back in, but it sounds just fine. And especially if you have already played one verse as written, when you go back and play it that way, people listening will fill in any notes that they need to, and it will just help them look at it in a slightly different way. This is turning out to be a very long video. I'm sorry. Another way that you can simplify here rhythmically is these triplets. You could certainly change these triplets to not be triplets. You could also take these dotted 8th, 16th rhythms and change them just to eighth notes. And that can totally change the character of a piece. So simplifying the rhythms helps there too. Let me play a couple of examples of that. Oh, let's go ahead and get rid of the dotted 8th, 16ths. And often I'll do something like this and I will change it as I go. So one time I might do the written rhythm and the next time I might not. It just kind of depends what I think sounds good, right? That's the whole theme. Put some dotted rhythms in there. I wouldn't keep it straight like that the whole time. Like this. And same thing at the beginning. At the beginning it's especially effective, I think. Call that simplifying. The last one that I wanted to show you simplification on is 254, True to the Faith. And I will be totally honest and tell you that the reason why I simplify this, if I'm playing the organ at least, is because it terrifies me to play that bass line with my pedals. It's a little bit crazy. I'm not a true organist. But this bass line down here, this is written to be performed on a keyboard instrument, and it sounds awesome and cool. But it would sound even awesome and cooler if you didn't do it every time. And then when you did do it, suddenly people would be like, oh, that's so cool. So let's take a look here. If we're looking at this, you could try just holding the first note of every measure. Instead of doing all those eighth notes, just hold this G the whole time, hold the B the whole time. And if it sounds good, keep it. And then when you go back and do it again later, with the running eighth notes, it'll sound really cool. So here it is with those notes held. And so forth. Then if you add in the running eighth notes, forgive me, remember I'm not really a pianist here. That sounds so much more dramatic, which is awesome.